Buon pomeriggio a
Good
tutti.
afternoon, everyone.
Sono contenta di
I'm
avere
very
l'opportunità
happy to
di
have the
presentare in qualità
opportunity
di
of
portavoce
presenting
dell'ufficio
here as a
quello che è stato il
spokesperson
nostro
of
lavoro
our
nell'ambito
office,
della
our
tutela.
work in the field of
E
safeguarding.
come vedrete nella
And as you will
diapositiva vi è
see
l'immagine
here on the screen, you can see a small plant growing up. And this is because in 2019, sowers of prophetic hope thought about creating this program of safeguarding that currently has been growing up, same as this plant. And so describing you the plan of this office, we can't but start from what happened in 2019, that is, the summit on the protection of minors that was held in Vatican City, and in which, apart from bishops from all over the world, even representatives of UISG and of USG participated. Most certainly, given the circumstances of the pandemic still ongoing, the activities mainly took place online. And it is incredible to think that despite that, our commission for care and safeguarding committed itself to have a shared agenda and to reach, apart from the planned meetings, also other meetings in subgroups that actually created other programs. And here you can see we organized a series of webinars starting in 2020. And this series actually evolved in 2020 and in 2021, and now in the first months of 2022, a third series was launched. And this opportunity of having webinars let us plan also other collaborative meetings with the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, which is our partner, and to establish a network of delegates, men and women from USG and UISG, with 250 members. But this network is actually continuously growing, and even the opportunity of having a networking that can count on most precious resources shared by this network is incredible. From this commitment, also other possibilities derived. For example, in 2021, we collaborated with the Institute of Anthropology of the Gregorian University. And the university actually deals with organizing a conference that started in the English-speaking world, but actually expanded worldwide. And this conference aims at joining and uniting not only the representatives of the academic world, but also other people practically dealing with the studies on care and safeguarding of human beings. And this is actually a new possibility even for UISG, because if we connect with other resources made available by the university, we can discover new projects that we didn't know about. For example, the project on the care of people with disabilities. In fact, the platform that was created in that context made it possible to develop new areas. For example, the focus on the world of people with disabilities. And this is also a focus that is very important among sisters in their apostolates. There are several platforms that have been created, and even last year with Telefono Azzurro, UISG was present during the European Day for the Protection of Children and Adolescents and Teenagers against exploitation and sexual abuses. Apart from that, this commission also supported the initiative of those international organizations for victims and survivors that request a World Day to acknowledge the victims of survivors of sexual abuses. Therefore, the commitment that we worked on also enabled us to enter a new network of the church in safeguarding, for which UISG was also consulted by the Holy See also for decisions concerning other fields of safeguarding. And this collaboration actually brought to an increasing growth in this field. And we know that our apostolic constitution, Predicate Evangelium, exists that foresees that developing new practices and strategies for safeguarding in the institutes of religious life is an essential element and the main focus of this new organization of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors actually focuses on guidelines and policies. And we committed on that. And even with Sister Tiziana, with the workshop that we recently organized with the participation of another canon lawyer, Sister Delfina, we focused on this topic because what even Pope Francis reminded us in the last plenary of the Pontifical Commission is that we need to have these tools for protection because they can safeguard the whole communities, both superior generals and the councils and even their members. And this is the aim of these policies. Moreover, listening is crucial. Another element that Pope Francis hoped for is the creation of national listening centers. When we talk about victims and survivors, we also talk about all contexts. Don't just think that there are only some categories of victims. Even the authority can be living in such a situation. And Sister Tiziana will also talk about it. And so we mainly focus on the praxis and the culture of safeguarding. And the invitation that our executive secretary shared was that of having for each congregation some delegates for safeguarding. So it is important that you appoint someone for this role, and the commission has been committing itself attentively to diversify formation for superior generals and for delegates for safeguarding, always keeping in mind that supporting delegates means also helping superior generals. So hence the aim of this work. It is also important to have some standards, parameters, criteria, encouraging one another. Even UISG adopted a child protection policy in March 2021, and this formation path concerning policies, which is not only a document to be read, is really crucial. And this is something that we are all encouraged to work on. Another very important question is that of the dimension of the abuses to adults. And so adults in a position of vulnerability, because this expression can be preferred to vulnerable adults. So there are many programs and there are many hardships in this path. But most surely, we can also count on many resources. There are external resources which are really precious, as we also need to evaluate the very scientific strategies. If we think about the independent surveys of sexual abuses in the church, they can surely be of great value, but we can also draw inspiration from other sources for lifelong and ongoing formation. And so in this image, you can see there is a boat, there is a ship actually in the sea. And so in this work, you sometimes feel like this boat in a very hard situation, in a very agitated sea. However, this is not a peculiar situation. On this boat, we can find everyone, superior generals, members of the communities, and so on. It's not so easy to come to grips with our hardships when the sea is so agitated, but our faith actually animates to draw courage, and collaboration is the very tool that makes us progress and to discover new realities that we could eventually not know, to collaborate. And collaborating is fundamental. Now I will give the floor to Sister Tiziana, but before that, I would like to show you a video which is a message from the Cardinal Giampietro O'Malley, President of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, who actually sent this message to celebrate the publishing of the new book edited by UISG, USG, and the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors. Here you can see the book, Per una cultura della cura e della protezione, nuove sfide per la vita consacrata, which can now be read in Italian, but it will also be translated in English and Spanish. This is actually a vademecum that will only work if on your behalf there will be a feedback on knowing how can we implement what here is described as the various local realities. So our cardinal sent us this message to celebrate with Sister Yolanda, but even with Father Arturo, President of USG, the publishing of this book. And we believe that his words are fundamental as our mandate. Thank you very much.
My greetings as you gather to announce the International Union of Superiors Generals Guide for Safeguarding in Religious Communities, per una cultura della cura e della protezione, nuove sfide per la vita consacrata. On behalf of all of the members of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, thank you for providing us the opportunity to participate in the development of this important safeguarding resource. It is good to join Sister Yolanda Kafka, President of the International Union, and Father Arturo Sosa of the Union for Superiors General for this announcement. As a fellow religious, I am very pleased to recommend this guide for the use of the Superiors General and the Moderators General worldwide, to assist with their work of establishing a culture of safety and protection. So many of our communities and congregations respond to the call of the most vulnerable and needy in our society. Religious are drawn to the peripheries. They heal the sick, the hungry, and provide shelter to the homeless. Schools operated by religious communities educated an estimated 62 million children worldwide. These ministries require our commitment to assure parents and all who care for the young and the vulnerable that their children will be safe in the community of the Church. Confidence in the safety of the young and vulnerable is essential for our mission of handing on the faith to generations who will follow. Abuse in other forms also needs to be confronted within our religious communities. Pope Francis has spoken about the dangers associated with the punitive understanding of the vow of obedience and the spiritual abuse that can occur in the name of this sacred vow. When we hear the testimonies of religious sharing their experience of abuse, we should be galvanized into action. We must ask ourselves the difficult questions. Are our communities safe? Are they trustworthy? Are there policies and procedures for properly addressing and resolving disagreements and disputes? No one in our community should ever have to suffer in silence. We must acknowledge and report abuse wherever and in whatever form it occurs. We must ensure that we have sound safeguarding principles, that they are implemented and their progress verified. As leaders of our communities, this is our responsibility. I wish you all strength and encouragement It's my hope that we can find inspiration and strength in the ancient prayer of the Blessed Mother, the Memorare. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to your protection, implored your help, or sought your intercession was left unaided. May the example of the Blessed Mother guide your ministry of leadership and service. God bless you.